It's that time again. Welcome to another week of Devils in Detail. He's Ethan Schmidt. I'm Carson Field. We've got a lot of great stuff in store this week.
That's right, Carson. Both ASU Hoops teams will host in-state rival Arizona at the end of the week. Sun Devil Hockey comes up with a huge road split. And what are those sports with the bats and gloves again? Oh yeah, that's right. ASU baseball and softball is right around the corner as well as we near spring. But let's jump in as Trevor joins us for the latest in men's basketball.
It can't be a Devils in Detail show without Trevor Booth, so here we are again. And one of us has a new haircut.
I appreciate it, Carson. It was time to get it.
Yeah, it looks good, man. The Sun Devils came seconds away from their first conference road sweep since 2010. And after watching the wins last week and now Saturday's loss, how do you feel about this team taking a step back?
In a little bit of a sense, they did. Anytime a team goes 19 of 62 from the field, that's a question mark, especially how well ASU has been playing lately against the 2-3 zone that they've seen a lot from these conference teams. The one thing that they did improve on was going 22-25 from the free throw line, but in the end, it was a free throw that cost them in that USC game. So a lot of things to clean up. It was 8 early turnovers in the first 9 minutes of that USC game that really opened things up for the Trojans and put ASU in a position they couldn't come back from, and they have to get out of that habit where they're getting down and can't make up because you can only get so far in those games.
The loss dropped ASU from second into a tie for fourth in the Pac-12 standings. With how the schedule lines up, is this team still capable of a conference championship run?
They are. They have a couple of games coming up that are really important that they get at home. When you look at the Washington game, the Arizona game tomorrow, those are games that you have the opportunity to close the gap at those top of the conference standings. And then eventually they have a home series against the Bay Area schools, which they should be able to take care of. Those teams haven't been playing too well lately. So the time hasn't run out for a conference championship, but you really have to start winning these games. And there isn't a lot of room for error, especially because you're going to have Arizona at McHale Center at the end of the year, the Oregon schools on the road. You have to take advantage of these opportunities that are coming up.
Now, it's time for the game both teams have had circled for a long time, the Territorial Cup. Bobby Hurley still hasn't defeated Arizona in his tenure, and the Devils will hope to change that. What do you see deciding the outcome of this game?
Well, this is the first time ASU is going to get a chance to play against a man defense in quite a long time. Back to non-conference play is probably the last time that they saw a consistent man defense like Arizona plays. And with U of A, they bring up a lot of high ball screens, and their centers are the ones that kind of close the gap on the perimeter. So ASU's guards are going to have to be prepared for that and try to get the ball inside. This is an Arizona team that isn't as deep as it used to be. We don't know if Chase Jeter is going to be able to go tomorrow night. And if he isn't, ASU's just got to pound it inside and try to get to that second unit because it's not as deep, and that's the opportunity that's going to allow them to blow the game open in the man defense.
Trevor, you never disappoint at the desk. Thanks for coming on and spreading your knowledge on the ASU basketball team.
For the first time in the history of Devils in Detail, we have two athletes of the week. Both junior Joey DeCord and sophomore Johnny Walker were nominated for the Hobie Baker Award earlier this month. And the two really displayed their worth in ASU's 3-0 win over BU last Saturday to keep its tournament hopes alive. DeCord registered his NCAA leading 7th shutout of the season with 28 saves. The goaltender was awarded the first star of the game after the big win in his hometown of Boston. Walker scored 2 goals in the victory. His 21 goals are the best mark in all of college hockey. The Phoenix native just cannot stop scoring. And folks, he's only a sophomore. So now, we bring in reporter Chase Dreiberg to talk about this series ASU had against BU. Obviously, Chase, a tough outing on Friday, losing 4-2, some bad bounces, and then ASU responded on Saturday with that 3-0 shutout, as we mentioned. So, Chase, what were your takeaways from the series?
I think overall, Ethan, this was a great series played by ASU. I think both nights they played a very good, sound overall game. But I think that Friday night when they did lose, it was just a little bit too much running around in their own end. Pucks weren't getting through, and at the end of the day, they got a lot of bad luck. And three of the four of Boston University's goals were in off of Arizona State. So just a little bit of unlucky bounces for them on the Friday night, but they came back really strong on Saturday in a must-win game for them, according to be able to keep this pairwise ranking go. And they came up big and played a very good game on that Saturday night.
Yes, well said. And now I want to talk about special teams for a moment. ASU has been really successful on the penalty kill this season at 86.1%. That's 7th best in the nation. However, on the other hand, the Sun Devils have had an abysmal power play, 51st in the nation, subpar there. And especially this past weekend against the Terriers, they went 0 for 5. So going forward, what do you think this team can do to improve on the man advantage?
Yeah, Greg Powers has been trying to shift this power play around a little bit because they've been caught in a little bit of a rough funk as of late. You know, he's taken Philip Bunces off the power play. He's tried to insert some different guys. He's tried to put Steen Paschnik to try and get in front of that goaltender, but nothing's been seeming to work as of late. You know, at the start of the season, it was a very strong unit for them. You know, Johnny Walker was always scoring, but at the end of the day, I think what it's come down to is, as of late is they're trying to force the puck too much. And that's something that really came apparent in that BU series where they really struggled. Trying to force that puck too much. You know, they got to really work it around the perimeter, get it from that strong side over to that weak side to get that shot open, and what they were doing earlier this year to get Johnny Walker open on that left side. So they got to continue to use a lot of puck movement, you know, have their skill guys, you know, have a lot of skill, especially in those situations like Dimitrios Koumantzis, and especially, you know, in the stretch run here, you know, eventually he's going to go back home to Minnesota. Dimitrios Koumantzis is going to have to be very, very key for Arizona State on that power play.
Well, finally, the Sun Devils go on the road for the 3rd straight series, this time taking on RIT. Chase, what are your keys to the series for the Sun Devils?
Ethan, it seems that it's every time that we talk about these keys for a series, it ends up coming down to the same things, and they just got to stick to the fundamentals. They have to stick to the fundamentals and stay out of the box. They got to continue to use their speed, use their strength. They got both of that. They got both of those. A very, very good team up and down this lineup, and they have been this year, and they just can't slow up now. They're right at that end of the road. If they just win, you know, a couple more games here and there, they're going to find themselves with their first tournament berth. So they just got to continue to use their foot speed, use their strength, get pucks in deep, and continue to apply pressure to a much weaker team in RIT. So it's going to be very crucial this week, and they pick up 2 wins because even just one loss for this team could be very detrimental to their NCAA tournament chances.
Well, these Sun Devils played a full 60 minutes on Saturday against BU. They'll try to do the same against Rochester Institute of Technology. The man with the knowledge, Chase Dreiberg, ladies and gentlemen. You can check out all of his work and the rest of our Sun Devil hockey coverage at devilsindetail.com.
I am now joined by Alex Weiner to talk some women's hoops. And Alex, ASU is now halfway through the conference season. The team is 5-4 in Pac-12 play. Is this about what you expected?
They're about a game worse than I would have thought entering this season. You know, they did have a difficult schedule for the first half of their conference play with road games at the Oregon schools, against the Northern California schools, even on the road against Utah on a buzzer beater win by Riley Richardson, with Utah turning out to be a lot better than people thought they were going to be. They had a difficult road, but they certainly had some winnable games that I felt like they should have won, but they lost, especially the last one against UCLA. That one hurt their stock quite a bit. But I think 5-4 is a decent position to be in. 6-3 I think was probably what they hoped and what I hoped. But you know, we'll see how they do in the second half of this Pac-12 schedule.
The Sun Devils now transition into the last 9 games of their regular season. Will the team's record over the second half be better, worse, or about the same as the first 9?
I would imagine it getting a little bit better. You start off with 4 very winnable games at home against Arizona. You're on the road against the Washington schools, who have not been very good this year. And then you play Colorado. So those are 4 games that they probably should go on a little bit of a winning streak there. Then you kind of hit the gauntlet towards the end of the season against Utah, the Northern California schools, and then the Oregon schools to finish off the season. So if they could put themselves in a great position with 4 wins entering that sort of gauntlet, I think that they can take a few of those games, maybe 2 or 3 of those games against the tough opponents, and that'll put them in a better spot entering the tournament.
Arizona State is now ranked 21st in the nation after the split against the LA schools. What needs to happen for ASU to earn a first round bye in the Pac-12 tournament?
Well, as I said, they're going to have to take care of their business against the teams, the next 4 teams on their schedule, but also they're going to need a little bit of help, somebody from that top 4 right now, because currently ASU is 5th behind Utah, Oregon State, Stanford, and Oregon. They're probably going to need either Oregon State or Utah to start to take a hit in the second half of the Pac-12 schedule. If that happens and Arizona State takes care of its business, goes 6-3, 7-2, then they'll be in a good spot to maybe get a first-round bye, but it's going to be very difficult.
I guess we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the season unfolds. Awesome stuff, Alex. I look forward to having you back on. Now, we head to the monitor for a look at the softball team.
Sun Devil softball is almost here. Last season, ASU had one of its best seasons in recent memory, posting a 48-13 record, including the postseason. After punching their ticket to Oklahoma City, the Sun Devils came up short in the World Series. Joining me now for an inside look into the 2019 season is Devils in Detail editor and softball aficionado. Great to have you on, sir.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, jumping right into things, Arizona State, as we just learned, is ranked 12th in both preseason polls. Sam, are you surprised that they are ranked this high considering they lost all-star pitcher G. Juarez and Danielle Gibson?
Yeah, it's a little surprising. I definitely thought ASU would be ranked considering most of their hitters are back this season. ASU, 7 of their 9 hitters from the starting lineup in the World Series is back this season. Obviously the Juarez and Gibson transfers are big for ASU.
Yeah.
So I thought Juarez would drop them down, especially also Maha graduated, so it's a brand new pitching staff for ASU. But, I think it speaks to how good they think the Sun Devils will be, how good their hitting lineups will be, because it's going to be kind of a different philosophy, a different way of winning this season.
Well, Sam, obviously losing Juarez and Gibson are 2 huge losses for this team. And so who do you think will be able to fill in for them in 2019?
Yeah, well, I think definitely Cielo Mesa, a transfer from Long Beach State. I think she will be the ace of the staff now. She had a bounce-back season with Long Beach State last season, helping them get into the Tempe Regional. They playing in Tempe. They lost both games, so they didn't get a chance to play ASU. But Mesa was coming off a shoulder injury, so she was sidelined her freshman year, but now she's 2 years removed from that injury. So I think that could really benefit. Obviously, though, ASU Farrington Stadium is a hitter's park with the air here, so she'll have to adjust to that. But I think she will be the main person replacing Juarez. And also, Michaela Santa Cruz is a freshman. The ASU hopes that could get in the rotation. It'll probably either be her or Abby Anderson. Anderson could play pitching or outfielder, so we'll see how ASU decides who they will pick behind Mesa in the starting rotation.
Well, Sam, now as reigning Pac-12 Coach of the Year, Tricia Ford enters her 3rd season with ASU. So, Sam, what are your expectations this year for the Sun Devils? Yeah,
I think Arizona State will finish in the top half of the Pac-12. UCLA, I think it's the clear favorite. They're returning the most of their lineup, and they have Rachel Garcia, who was the USA Softball National Player of the Year. So I think the Bruins are the favorite in the Pac-12, maybe even the favorite to win the national championship this season. Arizona has retooled their top 5 in the polls. So I think ASU is probably around the 3rd best team, with Oregon having a wave of transfers leaving that program. They've lost all their 3 starters and the majority of their lineup. So I think it's really ASU, UCLA, and Arizona are probably the 3 hardest teams, with Washington as well, with Gabby Plain, with the Huskies losing in the National Championship Series last season. So, what makes it difficult for ASU is they only get UCLA to come to Tempe this year. They have to go to Washington and to Arizona. So that'll be difficult for the Sun Devils.
That's tough.
Yeah, last season all the good teams came here. This year it's flipped. So we'll see how ASU really plays on the road this season.
Definitely. The Pac-12, one of the toughest conferences in collegiate softball. This guy knows his stuff, Sam Ficarro, ladies and gentlemen. You could check out his work and the rest of our ASU softball coverage at devilsindetail.com.
Softball isn't the only team returning to the diamond soon. ASU baseball begins its 2019 season in mid-February when the Sun Devils welcome in Notre Dame. To preview the upcoming season, Nick Aguilera joins me at the desk. Nick, first time at the desk? How are you feeling?
Feeling great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime, Nick. In a losing year a year ago, one thing stood out as a saving grace, and that was Spencer Torkelson. He set the ASU freshman home run record early in the year and finished with 25 round trippers. Do you expect Tork to build on that successful season?
I think that he had probably one of the best seasons he could have asked for last year. He had a 743 slugging percentage. That's just out of this world. 25 dingers, of course. He broke Barry Bonds' freshman home run record. Once he went to the Cape, he was good, not great. He lost some power numbers with the wood bat, but coming back to the BB Core bats in 2019, I think he'll have a good season. I just do not see him having the same season he had a year ago. That's nothing against him because it was an incredible season, but I just don't see him hitting 743 slugging percentage again.
Now with back-to-back losing seasons, some are calling for Tracy Smith's job. For him to keep it, the Sun Devils will have to show signs of growth. What will it take for ASU to finish above 500 this year?
I think it's the same thing as last year. I think they have to get the pitching bolted down. Their bullpen really has to step up, and they're losing a few guys, but they have to keep people off the base paths. They walked over 200 guys last year while striking out only 400. It was kind of a 2-to-1 ratio there. The starters have to step it up. Boyd Vanderkoy is going to be coming back. He had an injury-plagued season last year. But for the most part, it's going to be about the bullpen. It's going to be about keeping guys off the base, and it's going to be about just throwing good pitches and trying to find the strike zone.
We already talked a little about Torkelson, but are there any other players that we should be watching specifically for this year?
You know, one that intrigues me the most is RJ Davovich. He's a lefty coming out of Central Arizona College. He really has good stuff, and I think he can be a huge improvement for this team, no matter if it's in the bullpen or in starting rotation. I think he can be a key figure for the Devils. Another guy I can see coming in and just really helping them is Eric Tolman. He's also a lefty, and he was the 111th best prospect by perfect game last year. So I think if both of those guys can come in and they can pitch well, I think they can both turn some heads.
How's that for a debut? Nick killing it at the desk. We look forward to having you back, and you can follow all things ASU baseball at devilsindetail.com. 4, please. Former ASU golfer Jon Rahm is one of the best golfers in the world at number 6 in the PGA rankings. Most recently, Rahm finished tied for 5th in the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines. He shot a 14 under in the 4 rounds and shot a 62 on Thursday. Now, he prepares for his return to the Valley. Rahm is set to play in the Waste Management Phoenix Open this weekend. Last year, he shot 12 under and finished tied for 11th. He even sported his Pat Tillman jersey on hole 16. Another week, another show. It was great to be back at the desk for another Devils in Detail.
Hey Carson, you did awesome. And as always, for our viewers, you can keep up to date on everything in ASU Athletics at devilsindetail.com and on Twitter at devils_detail. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.